Hello friends and family of YouTube, it's Travis again with Just Keep Walking, and today we're headed up Jake's Creek Trail up to Avent Cabin. But before we get started, let me give you some directions on how to get here, and those are coming up right now. If you're driving from the Maryville, Alcoa area, you will pass through the city of Townsend. When you reach the Townsend Y, turn left going towards Gatlinburg. From the Townsend Y to this point is about a 25-minute drive. Then you're going to make a right here going towards Elkmont campground. It's about a 3-minute drive to get to this point. If you go straight, that takes you to the campground area, but we're going to turn left going towards the Elkmont Nature Trail. The Elkmont Nature Trail is on your left. You'll pass through the parking area for Little River Trail, which is on your left. But we're going to continue on up this hill. This is a one-way road, circles around. So the trailhead for Jake's Creek is straight ahead, up there where it says road closed. If you turn right here, that takes you out, but we're gonna pull over here in the parking area. I'm gonna circle around. There is quite a few parking spaces here, so parking is typically not an issue. We're just going to park up here close to the trailhead. Alright, so there is the parking area. That's the road that we just pulled in. And here is the trailhead. Alright, welcome back. As I mentioned, we're going to be hiking up Jake's Creek Trail to Avent Cabin. So last week I hiked up to the Walker Sisters cabin, which is probably my favorite cabin in the Smoky Mountains that I've been to so far. But Avent Cabin up here is a very close second, and I'll show you why when we get up here. But before we do, I'm going to show you right here at the beginning of the trailhead, which is a pretty cool sight, I think. There's some old fireplaces for some of the cabins that used to be up here. So this area, back in the day, was a huge logging industry. And then as that started to die out, the Little River Railroad started promoting this as a summer area, hunting spot. And so there was a lot of cabins built up here for people to come up here and do that. And then eventually it came up here mainly in this area for summer vacations. So as the park took over, a lot of these cabins had to be dismantled. They just couldn't maintain them all. There's several back there where we parked. I may be able to show you that a little later, but those are open and those have been maintained, and you can go in and visit those. And then you've got these spots here overlooking the water. There's quite a few of these as we go up through here. These were the ones that had to just be dismantled, and all you can really see now is the stone fireplaces and some of the foundations. the steps. You'll see this one up here, which is pretty cool. Let me turn around so you can see it. So I would have loved to have seen these back in the day. I didn't get the opportunity, but you can get an idea of how nice these would have been. And then overlooking the water here. So there's several of these up through here on this trail. So even if you can't walk very far, you can walk right up through here and see a lot of these. And this may be something that doesn't interest you, but I think it's fascinating. Here's a few more. So pretty cool as far as the history goes. And I know I'm kind of a geek when it comes to this kind of thing, but it's one reason I like hiking in the wintertime. The visibility is just so much better. You can see these right now. When everything's grown up, it's a little bit more difficult. Let's head on up here too. I mean, I've literally been walking for like 2 minutes, and you can see how many of these are in here. There's quite a bit of these in the area, and I'm not going to show you all of them, but I did want to show you some of these while we're right here at them. Here's another one. Another one of the chimneys. And we'll go up here and do one more, maybe two. Sorry, I get carried away with this. I always tell myself when I come up here, I'm like, I'm not gonna bore everybody with these. We're gonna go straight to the cabin. But if you've never been up here before and you get the opportunity, don't just rush to go up to the cabin. Or, I mean, I would recommend that on any hike. Take your time and look around and explore the area, because there's a ton of history up here. And to me, I just think it's absolutely fascinating. I'm not the best historian in the world. I just enjoy getting out here and hiking, getting away from everything, and just try to give you a little bit of history. There are a lot of people that do these types of channels that can tell you a lot more about the area. A lot of people that comment on here know a lot more about this than I do. I just enjoy getting out in the woods, to be honest. But I do think these are awfully cool to look at. And then we'll do one more, and then we'll switch over maybe to the other side of the trail. But like when this is all grown up, I mean, it's really difficult to see. This is a good one just because it's got a lot more of the foundation left. This was probably like a basement area. But you can see that. Some old metal pieces left over from back in the day. And then let's go up here. Look at this. So there's the foundation. I gotta hold this GoPro a little bit better. I got this media mod, and it's throwing me off a little bit. So far I think I've recorded everything at an angle. I apologize for that. Hopefully this is a little better. All right. Man, there's another one up here. Hang on, we're just gonna show them all. The heck with it. You can just fast forward if you get bored. But a good little path up here to these. Here's another one. And then we'll get back up here to the main trail. So, I mean, you're right here at it. So, I mean, all of that's within like a 2 or 3 minute walk. So a ton of stuff that you can see without having to go very far at all. And this used to be a road, so people could drive up here and park at these cabins versus having to walk all the way up through here. But now they only use it for the park service if they have to get vehicles up here to do maintenance or for any type of emergency. And as I mentioned just a second ago, I've got this new media mod. I did a video on it last week. I finally figured out in the settings, they have a front speaker or a front microphone, a back microphone, or you can do both at the same time. I figured that out. So I've got it on both. And I tested out the sound quality back home, and this actually sounds a little bit better, I think, personally. But I don't know. We'll try this out for the video. Hopefully it'll turn out okay. But we are, I mean, literally we're right here. There's another one. We'll go up there and look at that. There's one back here behind this tree. I gotta spin this around. This microphone on this media mod is making holding this GoPro a little bit more difficult. But there's another chimney there. There's another one back there. There's this one. Now this is a little bit more of a challenge to get to, but all about that. So another chimney up here. I mean, you're like, how many chimneys can we look at? Well, when you're with me, a lot. So there's a cabin right up here that they left it standing, and they just remodeled it last year because it had gotten in pretty bad shape. So we'll go up here and check this one out. All right, so this is the David Chapman cabin. And like I said, this is one that's been remodeled. So your donations at work, this project funded by Friends of the Smokies. And I will need to get my flashlight out so that we can see inside this one. So give me just a second, and I may change the settings to lighten this up a little bit too. All right, so I'm gonna leave my backpack out here. And let's go in, turn the flashlight on so you can see. So we'll go around this way. Turn this off as we go out. So pretty nice place here, overlooking the stream. So just imagine sitting out here in the summers and just listening to that. I can't imagine, to be honest. Waking up early one morning, brewing a pot of coffee, and just sitting out here in a rocking chair maybe and listening to that. Sounds like a little piece of heaven to me, but that's just me. Alright, so here was the little kitchen area. So you didn't have a lot, but you had what you needed, right? There's the fireplace again. Got some storage under the steps. We'll go up there in a minute. There was a bedroom. A little bit of closet space. Here is, they've got this blocked off now with glass, but it's the bathroom area. The reason they had to do that, there's the sink, but they had to do that so that people wouldn't come up here and actually try to use the bathroom, because these don't have running water any longer. So here's the other bedroom. And then let's go upstairs. I always like going upstairs in these cabins. So this one actually had another bathroom. This one's got a shower in it. So downstairs was just a toilet and sink. Here's a shower. It would have had a sink and toilet also. And then here's the other bedroom. And the second bedroom. Not a ton of space, but still sufficient. And then, I don't know if they've got us locked out here or not. Let's try it. Oop, didn't want to blind you with that. Yeah, that is locked, but as you can see, that would have been a little front porch area, which has been nice, especially screened in to keep the bugs away in the summer, because they do get pretty bad up here at times. Alright, so let's head back down, and we will continue on the trail. Directly across from the David Chapman cabin, there's another foundation up here, a couple of them actually. I want to show you these. So that's all that remains of this cabin. But then back here, there's another one. This is one of the most unique features that I've seen. Most of them you have like a very basic foundation, maybe a couple feet tall, and then you build. And then this one, I don't know what it was actually used for, but as you can tell, like, this is a massive wall. So I'm assuming there was something built on top of it at one point, and I don't know if they use this as like something to like facilitate all the cabins that were up here, or if it was a storage area or what. But regardless, it's a large structure with these big old pipes coming out of them. Oop, scared me just a little bit. There was a stick that I stepped on underneath that tin roofing. Yeah, that'll get your heart pumping. But anyway, I know you've seen enough of these. There might be one or two more up here that I'll share with you. But let's continue on up the main trail here and get up to the cabin. And I just realized I've still got it on that low light setting, so this is going to be extremely bright video. I apologize. I'll switch it back over as we head up the trail. We probably see a difference in it. So as you can tell, it's kind of dreary out here this morning. So been some light rain on and off, and they're calling for that most of the morning. I'm hoping we don't get like a major thunderstorm or anything. I didn't see that in the forecast, but up here in the mountains, you just never know. The weather conditions up here are typically a little bit different, and they can change fairly quickly. But when I left the house this morning, it's about 41 degrees, calling for rain. I don't expect there will be many people up here today at all. I think the rain's supposed to stop around 10 or 11 this morning, so there'll probably be more people show up later. But this is the time that I really like to hike because there's nobody else up here. So you know how I am. Like to hike up here just out in the woods by myself. Feel like I've got the whole place to myself. Well, you'll come to this sign here. It's literally probably about a 5-minute walk. Seems a lot longer because I was exploring back through there, but about a 5-minute walk. This is a little side trail. I did it a year or so ago. I got a little video on that one. So basically it goes up, circles around. There's an old barn and things back there. And it does, if you follow, there's a little side trail that goes back. It'll connect to another one up through here. But most people, I think, just go around and turn around and come back. So very short. But Jake's Creek, as you can see, we are headed up this direction. And before I forget, I hiked this a couple years ago, and I was coming up through here. I heard this loud, it sounded like bass, like from a stereo, which, I mean, you got the campground, but I was like, there's no way that like 7 o'clock in the morning, somebody's, you know, listening to loud music. And as I topped this hill, got right here, there was a large buck that come up right here to the top, and that beat was him, his feet hitting the ground as he walked. One of the largest bucks I've ever seen. And I mean, it looked like it was almost elk size. And we just had a stare down for about 5 or 10 seconds thinking, man, what's gonna happen right here? And he finally turned around and took off. But yeah, that'll get your heart going. You hear that loud sound, all of a sudden you see a large deer with antlers staring you face to face, and you're about 20 feet away. Pretty awesome, but a little scary at the same time. So Jake's Creek Trail, for the most part, pretty easy. Not a ton of incline up to this point, but I'm gonna warn you, this little section right here, it is very deceiving. If you're not paying attention, which I'm trying to hike for some reason as fast as I can go. I don't know why. I guess I'm trying to stay in front of other hikers in case anybody comes in from behind me. But this little section right here, on up till we get up here to this first crossing. Uh-oh, there is a deer right up there looking at me, which is pretty cool. You're not gonna be able to see it from here. I might try to zoom in. See him crossing up there? I'll try to zoom in with my editing software. Hopefully you can get a better shot, because I'm so far back and I can't zoom in with this. But that's another reason I like to be the first one up here, is because you get to see wildlife. Typically, later in the day, you can't see because there's so many people up here. That being said, I typically don't see many bear because they come out later in the day and they don't care who's out here. They just wander around. So anyway, I see a lot of deer. Saw a lot of turkey actually on the drive in, but typically not bear this early in the morning. But that was pretty cool. But as I was saying, let me spin this around. This little incline, it'll surprise you. So slow down and pace yourself. You try to power through this and it will wear you out very, very quickly. Well, I was looking for that deer. He's way up there. I think he made a shortcut and went up there to the trail that we're about to be on. You can't see him. I can barely see him with my naked eye. And man, they blend in so well right now. They are difficult to spot, but I knew he was here. I was just having to watch for movement, but he's way up there. You just go on without me. I gotta catch my breath for a minute. Ooh. No, I'm just kidding. But, and really I'm not. That little incline, it's deceiving, and it'll get your attention real quick, especially when you get to this point and you're breathing heavy like I am, especially if you're out of shape and haven't been hiking as much as I should. But anyway, this is the first intersection. This is actually with Cucumber Gap Trail. So that's a nice little trip, is to hike up here, take Cucumber Gap over to Little River, and then back down to the parking area where I showed you earlier for Little River, and then you just walk right up the road to where we parked. Makes a nice little loop. But we are going to continue on Jake's Creek Trail, Meg's Mountain Trail, point 1. You'll see that here in just a second. And then Jake's Gap, we're not going quite that far. So we've went 0.7 of a mile, 0.7 miles to get to here. So anyway, Cucumber Gap, Jake's Creek this way. All right, so right up there was the signage for Cucumber Gap. And then right down here is the signage for, I think that's Meg's Creek. I think that's what that sign up there just told me, but I can't remember. So we'll find out here in just a second. All right, so that deer is standing right in front of me. He worked his way up here. I'm gonna try to get my phone out so I can also get a video. There he is, staring at me. So hey, we got to meet again. All right. So that's difficult to do, to try to film with your GoPro and your phone at the same time. He went back down through there. I was hoping there'd be more than one, but he seems to be out by himself today. So hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Anyway, this is Meg's Mountain Trail. So Curry Mountain, 4.1 miles just to get to that trail. We are not doing that today. You can get all the way over to the Sinks if you want to hike another 9.5 miles. We also will not be doing that today. But that little side trail that I showed you earlier at the first split, like it follows around and it hooks down here to this trail, and you can make a loop back up. So that's a nice little loop if you decide to do that. Oh, there he goes again. Look. Like, I'm just all in his way. He knew where he was going, and I'm just blocking him. Anyway, that's pretty cool. He's not scared of me, at least. All right, so here we are, Jakes Creek Trail, Cucumber Gap, which is where we just came from, 1/10 of a mile. Jakes Creek parking, 0.8, and Jakes Gap, 2.9. We're not going quite that far, but we will continue on. All right, so I know you're not gonna be able to see it from here. It is off in a distance. I'm gonna try to get a good shot here where I can zoom in. But down there is that barn that I was talking about, that little side trail. You go up to that barn and then it circles around and hits this trail and makes a loop. So my guess is that's maybe a mile, mile and a half little loop. So not a bad little trail if you can't hike very far and you get to see a lot of the scenery. But in Jakes Creek, this thing goes up here for a while. It splits off into some different trails. So a lot of different options as you go up through here, but we're just going up here to Avent Cabin. All right, so you're gonna see this little side trail and you're gonna think, oh, this is it. This is where I need to go. And it is not. So don't fall for it, because you're gonna walk all the way down there just to get to the creek. And then you're gonna have to do the walk of shame back up here like I did the first time, because I thought that's where it was at. So just trying to save you a little bit of grief here. That is not it. So I will show you where the entrance to Avent Cabin is on up here. All right, I'm gonna try to zoom in so that you can see it. This is another advantage of hiking in the winter, is just the better visibility because all the leaves are off of the trees. But you can see Avent Cabin off in a distance. During any other season, you would not be able to see it, be completely camouflaged. But we are getting close. All right, so there's no major landmark here, okay? What I always try to look for is that tree you see leaning across the pathway. That's about the only good landmark that I can give you. You can see the cabin off in a distance right now, as I mentioned earlier, so that will help. But if you're here spring, summer, fall, you're not gonna be able to see it. But this is what the trail looks like, and you'll know you're on the right one because you'll see these little log steps. Now, these are deceiving also, especially when it's wet. So be very, very careful. I'm gonna turn this off in case I fall, I don't embarrass myself. Well, I didn't fall, but I almost did, because I didn't have a lot of confidence in putting my weight on that one log here at the end. So I stepped on this rock, which somebody has graciously put there, but man, that thing wobbled. So be very, very careful. So we got one little surprise here before we get to the cabin, which I want to share with you, because you'll know what I'm talking about when we get here, because this is one of my favorites on any of the hiking trails. All right, so here we have it. One of these log bridges, and this is one of the longer log bridges to go across that I've been on, other than maybe going up to Ramsey Cascades. But there's the view upstream, which is pretty awesome. There's the view downstream. There's the cabin up on the hill. And then a couple summers ago, I was hiking this and didn't realize it until I got across, but some yellow jackets had decided to make that hole their home, and I realized it about the time I was stepping over it, and then knew I had to come back as it warmed up that day. So yeah, that'll get your attention real quick when you got to fight yellow jackets and there's nowhere to go. Oh, and that's what's supporting this log bridge, is these two logs underneath it. So this one looks like it's fairly old. It's been here for a while. So I wouldn't put a lot of confidence in leaning on this railing. Just use it for a little bit of balance. But we'll head on up through here. I'll give you a shot of what this looks like from the other side. So, yeah, pretty awesome, but also be careful. And then we got to climb up these rocks to get up here to the cabin. All right, so here we are, Avent Cabin. Alright, so let's do a quick walk around here real quick. I think I said quick twice in a row. That makes for a great video. Got that little side entrance area up here. And then here's the entrance we'll be going in. And they push a rock up there so animals don't get in. So make sure if you come up here and visit, shut that door and replace that rock. But anyway, let's look in real quick. I hope nobody's looking back at us. That would be bad stuff. All right, let's go in and check it out. All right, so here we are inside. And before I look around too much, I'm going to set up a couple of things here, and I'll show you in just a second what those are. So the wind has picked up. I've been listening to that. That's a little creepy. And then the wind just blew the door shut down here on the cabin, so that got my attention also. All right, so I don't know, hopefully you can see that. Let's set a couple of these up here somewhere. These are motion activated little globes here. I'm gonna set that one there. So it is reported, I didn't know that this particular cabin is supposed to be haunted, which I have had one experience, but it was just a technical issue with one of my GoPros. And I apologize, I'm all over the place here while I'm filming this. I'm trying to get these out of the bag and get them set up. Just trying to set them up in some spots where they're not going to move with me walking around. And then I'm going to set one more up out here. I'll show you around a little bit better here in just a second. I got to move this rock out of the way. This does have a rudimentary lock on it. We'll open this up. Another rock over here. This leads out to this part of the cabin. We'll open this up. I'll set one in here because this is where I had the experience with my GoPro. So we'll set that. I'm trying to set it somewhere where I know it's not me just walking around that's causing the issue. So we'll set it right there. And we'll leave it there for a minute because it takes a second for those to go off. And that'll give me a chance to come back in here and show you around. So this is the view. Let me switch this over real quick to the outdoor view because I've got it set for indoor for lighter conditions. Hang on just a second. All right, so hopefully that's a little bit better. But they had a really nice view up here over the water. Of course, you wouldn't be able to see much in the other 3 seasons, but wintertime you had a really good view. All right, so let me switch this back to the indoor view and we will go back in and check it out. All right, so this is on, excuse me, the lighter setting. So when I do have those globes set up over here, and let me get my phone here real quick. I'm gonna give you a little bit of history if I can. Hang on just a second. So this cabin was originally built around 1850 by the Ownby family. And then it was purchased in 1918 by Frank Avent and his wife, Mayna Treanor. She was an artist here, a local artist, and I think some of her paintings are displayed around, I know, the United States in different museums and stuff. But I hiked this a couple years ago and had an issue with my GoPro, my old GoPro. I had to restart it like 5 times in a row when we were in there in the little sink area. And I'll show you that here in a minute. And never heard that this place was haunted. And when I got back, I had a couple people leave some comments about it. So I came back up a year later, and I've never had any issues, but I put those little motion balls out. So if there is anything here, you can go ahead and just touch one of those, and it'll move. And I'll know that you're here. I don't expect anything, but as you can see, I think this might be some of her artwork here. Let's take that. I'm trying to get the light just right so you can see it, where it's not too bright. So, it says definitely do not remove, so hopefully people will respect that enough. This does have an upstairs. We'll go up there here real quick, but you can see a nice little area. Fireplace, I got the Avent on it, the A for Avent, which is pretty sweet. Got some things up here from back in the day. I feel like I'm blinding you, but I also don't know if you can see it without the light. So this part right here was open, and these rafters are actually a little bit higher than what I've seen in some of the other cabins, which is nice. So there were the bed springs, and then we're gonna go up here and hope there's not something up here waiting on me. Alright, so you've got a table back there, got another bed, and then this overlooked down below. Don't want to go up too high. This right here, look, let me see if I can show you this. I'm trying to get my flashlight situated. Let's set it right here. So this is what I'm dealing with right now, so I'm not overly confident in going too much higher, but it did overlook down below. And I know I'm all over the place with this thing today, so I apologize. But hopefully you'll get an idea of this particular cabin. It is pretty awesome. But let's go back down here. Ooh, that ladder is shaky, so be careful. But again, here we have the downstairs. There's an old coat rack. I've not noticed that in the past. That might be a new addition. So let me look up real quick on this, the Mayna Treanor. She painted up here for a long time. This was kind of her art studio. Let me see if it says how long she was alive. She lived from 1865 until 1959. And so when I say that this place has been reported to be haunted, my guess is it may be her spirit that's just up here visiting. I mean, this was her homestead, so not a malicious spirit. But, and then there's a book here. There's one of those little motion balls that I've got set up, where you can leave your name. You can write it down. Hopefully there's a pen up here somewhere, but you can put your name and where you're from and when you visited. But yeah, this is the section that I had some issues with. My GoPro kept going off. There's an old stove. Here's some welcome to the Mayna Treanor Avent studio. It says take your time and all the photos you wish, but please do not take anything else. So, National Register of Historic Places. But yeah, pretty awesome place. Let's try it here without the flashlight. Hopefully you can see there's enough windows in here, and nothing on the little motion balls here, little globes. And I did mention I was using this new media mod. It is draining the power. I noticed that on the hike up here. It is absolutely draining the power on my GoPro battery. So I'm gonna have to switch out batteries here in just a second. But again, let's just scan around one last time here in the cabin. Pretty awesome place. All right, so that was Jake's Creek Trail up to Avent Cabin. It's about 2.6 miles round trip according to the All Trails app. You've got the stone foundations and fireplaces there at the beginning of the trailhead from some of the early cabins that have now since been destroyed. You've got the incline that I warned you about right before you get to Cucumber Gap Trail. You get to go across the log bridge here before you get up to the cabin, which just be careful of that. It's one of the older log bridges I've been on, and the handrail on that does not seem to be the sturdiest, but it will help you keep your balance going across there. And then you've got Avent Cabin itself. So one of the nicest cabins that I've been in here in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. It's kind of off the beaten path. So if you ever get a chance, I would highly recommend it. I don't think there's a lot of people that even know about this one. I would highly recommend coming up here and visit. Didn't see any or experience any paranormal activity. So that's typically my luck. Like I said, there have been a couple comments in some of my videos about this being haunted, but I didn't have any experiences whatsoever. And I am trying out this new media mod, so hopefully the audio came in clear. I'm standing out in windy conditions right now, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear that or not. It does have a wind muffle on it, so I'm hoping that does help. And it sounded like when I tested this out at home that the audio quality was a little bit better. So anyway, just give me some feedback on that and let me know how the audio turned out on this particular video. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button. I'd also go ahead and ask that you hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything. It'll just give you a notification the next time I publish another video. But until next time, just keep walking.